Here we are talking about a person who is not a not technical person, who is not a designer, who is not a product manager, none of those. They just have a business idea and they want to just get an app and go to the market and make revenue and try it out. So that's our core value, that we allow non-technical people to build their app in the easiest fashion.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to one more episode of Unlocking the AI Advantage podcast. This is your host, Ramesh Danta. Today, we are going to hear from an exciting AI startup called Apsy.io and its founder, Tooraj Helmi. Tooraj, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Ramesh. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Hey, you and I have known, for quite some time. So I'm fortunate enough to travel the journey with you about Apsy. So with that, but I would like the audience to know what Apsy is all about and who you are. So with that, let's get started off with your introduction. So Tooraj, please go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, and how you came to be the founder and CEO of Apsy.io.
Thank you, Ramesh. So my name is Tooraj, and I'm founder and CEO of Apsy. A little bit of background about myself. I have two PhDs, one in econ and one in computer science. And I have a long track in technology, especially for AI and advanced algorithmic software. I've been very active in terms of being an entrepreneur. I've been to Y Combinator and Techstars in the past. And
When was the Y Combinator? When did you have that gig in Y Combinator?
So YC was back in 2016, and was my first kind of official entrance into being an entrepreneur. So it started from there for me. And with this one, with Apsy, it was the second time I did that, and I attended Techstars this time. So been kind of into the other accelerators on there too, but these are kind of the top ones. But with Apsy, it is kind of my dream that I've been kind of focused on maybe since I was 6 years old. That's when I wrote my first line of code into the computer I had back then, which was a very old computer. We can talk about that throughout this talk. But it's been a dream for me because writing a code that can generate code, which is kind of two levels of coding in itself, has been a dream for me, and I decided to make that a reality with Apsy.
Great. So we'll get more into writing a code and generating a code in a little bit. So you have a double PhD, so very quant, I could say, very techie. But the thing is, you're also an entrepreneur, right? So this is not your first time around. So you've learned some lessons with Y Combinator, I'm sure, right? So and then made a lot of contacts. So after Y Combinator, did you jump straight into Apsy startup, or in between, did you do something else?
I wish I could, but startups takes a lot of energy and effort, financial and non-financial. So with YC, I learned so many things. We had great sessions when I was there back in 2016, but didn't end up to become a very successful startup. So I had to get back to my normal life. So like paying the mortgage, having salaries and those kind of things, which is always there. So I had to give myself a few years again to get back to replenish all of my resources so that I can start this over again. And it took me around basically 4 years to get back to a situation to decide to go with my next one.
Wow. So actually, we will come back to this at a later point of time, like how an entrepreneur can become a serial entrepreneur. What does it take to be a serial entrepreneur? Mm-hmm. And in this case, the first one did not go well, but you've learned a ton, but you needed to replenish your resources, your energy, also make sure that the next one is ready. So you took some time off. So great. So now let me go straight into the second question I have, second major question, and I'm sure the audience also have. So what is Apsy.io all about?
Sure. So as my career in programming and I used to do consulting too before 4 or 5 years ago, and I was always baffled by how much resources were wasted. Like we were doing things over again. I knew that 70% of the things were just repeated over and over again. I mean, for bigger enterprises, this is not really a problem because they have all of the resources to spend on them. But the smaller organization, they cannot just do this. And I always knew that there should be a way in order to solve this problem. One of my last experience in terms of my career-wise, after I did YC and started working at other companies, I was head of product and engineering at a low-code app builder called Builder.ai. And there I started thinking very deeply about how AI could be used to make app building much easier, right? Over there, it was that company, what we were doing was kind of Uber for app building. So people were used to explain what the app was. And on the other side, it used to connect them with people, developer, to write the code for them. So AI there was more around connecting demand and supply rather than building the app itself. But to me, if I wanted to use AI in its true way of building app, I wanted to use AI to generate the app itself. So all of the things that users have to do in terms of coming up with the features that has to be included in their app, or even going further and any technical thing like what is my database, what is the workflow, what is AI. A lot of people don't know that, or they do not want to spend their time on it. They want to focus on their business. And to me, that was the goal. I wanted to make sure that the users stay on their idea, which is their business. And then my platform would be their software developer, would be their business analyst, and do whatever is necessary to get their app generated and published for them.
Okay, so now let me get to know a little bit more about apps. Yeah, give me some examples. Okay, for example, an app can come in all kinds of formats, right? So you could have an ERP application, you could have a Salesforce application, but also you could have a small membership application. So tell me, what kinds of applications are you talking about when you talk about apps?
For sure. So there are two ways I can answer this question. One is from the business sectors, and then the other one that you kind of mentioned was the complexity of these apps. On the first aspect, we are moving sector by sector. For example, while the platform itself is agnostic, it's important that we have enough features for any sector. For example, some person comes to build an e-commerce application, they need a specific features such as payments, product list, and so forth. Another person might coming to build a blockchain application. They need things such as connection to blockchains and e-wallets and those kind of things. So we need to have these features, and we are going sector by sector to make sure that as time goes on, we can cover more sectors. The other side is complexity of the apps. Like, is it a ERP for an enterprise, or is it kind of an application for end users? So to begin with, we are supporting the end users and smaller businesses and startups, basically, who are kind of this is going to be their first digital application, this digital software system. Having that said, our plan is to also serve enterprises starting end of 2024. And that requires not only generating app, but also features that allow them to connect with their existing software systems. So an enterprise, basically, they might have 10 or 20 other systems and APIs, and they are building this app to connect with those. So that requires a little bit more from the technical aspect. And also for us, sales would be a bit different. So now we need to organize a sales department to make these connections. So that's going to come down the road, hopefully in 2024.
Got it. Okay, so good. So I have a good idea of what Apsy is about, right? So you are automating or revolutionizing the way apps are built using AI, right? So because a startup could be either using AI to do some things, or it could be serving the AI market, right? So by the hardware and software. So in this case, and Apsy's case, we're talking about you guys are using the artificial intelligence features, AI ML features, to revolutionize the way apps are built. Okay.
That
So I
yeah.
want to get to that level of detail. So what AI ML features do you guys use to build this app engine?
Sure. So there are two ways. The first one that we've already implemented, and it's in the product. I call it AI version 1.0, and that's basically using AI as a software developer. So understanding what is the user saying, extracting information from their kind of high-level definition of their idea, asking them more questions if they are not providing enough information about the detail, because somebody might come in and say, I need a social application, right? They might not provide enough information. That it's our AI job to figure out what would be the next question to ask. So in this case, we are going to say like what type of content, for example, should we go there and so forth. But AI is doing that. That's number
Okay,
one.
sorry, let me stop you. So that means
Sure.
it's almost like an intelligent chatbot, at least in this piece that you built with AI, trying to gather the requirements and solidify the requirements at this
Yeah.
part. Is that right?
In the first phase of that, yes, that you are right, correct.
Yeah.
And we are trying to replicate what really happens when you go to a developer and say, this is my idea, right? So the first thing the developer does is to ask you more questions to make sure they understand what you want. Maybe you are too specific, or you are very high level. They want to get to a point that can be turned into an application. And that's what we are doing here. Once that's done, then it's taking the user through customization and configuration. Again, we don't want to overwhelm the user. So we only want to ask the questions that matter to their idea, and they have the information. We are never, for example, going to ask, like, tell us about the database that you want to use, or what is the relationship between these entities. That's too much, right? So our job is to infer all of that information from what is user saying, and taking the user to answer them in a way that they can. So that's a second way of using AI. So we are in real-time manner, we are processing all of the information that user is providing, and based on that, figuring out what is the right question or what is the right option to give to the user to take them throughout the process.
Got it.
So that was kind of AI 1.0. 2.0 is, so here we talked about building what user wants. User gives us their idea and we build it for them. 2.0, which is we kind of started, and it's going to be our focus in 2023, rest of 2023 and 2024, is on the business side of the thing. So users come to us, they probably have an idea, but they haven't seen everything else which is related to their apps. There are other apps probably similar to what they do. Given that we have access to all of that information, we have built similar apps, we have access to the rest of the other apps out there, we can actually start guiding them and saying them, well, you want to do this, but we think that you should also be doing this and this. So again, we don't think about AI. If you go to a team of app builders, there is a software developer, there's a business analyst. It's not that they say, okay, this is what you want, here you go. They kind of come back to you and say, we think that these are good for your apps. Maybe you want to have user engagement, maybe you want to do X, maybe you want to do Y. And that's what we want to do. So not just only build them what they want, but also guide them on what they should be doing. So that's kind of the second thing second way of leveraging AI, basically.
Okay. So if I understand it, there are three main components. One component is the intelligent chatbot that actually gets the requirements. And then you use AI to make sure that you have all the requirements. So we don't have to, go back and forth with the user. That's one. The second piece is once you have the requirements, then you work with the developer to take the requirements. You templatize these apps into different categories. Apps need a login screen. Apps need a membership. Apps need a payment module. Apps need some other user database or whatever, right? So, and then you said, okay, fine, I'm going to use AI to pull up the module that I need for this app, and then put it all together and give it to the developer. Is that right?
Not to the developer, but there is no developer in our case, right?
Oh, so there's no developer, exactly.
There's no developer. So AI is taking the user through all of these things. So asking them some questions to make sure that everything is configured and customized based on what they want. But then code generation, publish, everything is fully automated. I don't call them AI. The latter two parts, code generation and publish, they are very complex processes on their own. We have developed our advanced algorithms and processes to do that, but they are more on the automation side rather than AI, the last two parts.
Got it. So now, so every startup should have a value proposition, right? So in the sense you're doing it for a certain thing, right? So you're, okay, fine. I can get an app built by a team of developers. And then there are other tools like a Copilot that's out there. They're saying that, we will help you build better. So what is the key value proposition of Apsy using AI to revolutionize the app build?
Sure. The core is ease of building app for end users who are non-technical people, right? So the advances in AI, such as Copilot you mentioned, or even ChatGPT, as a developer, you might say, okay, I know what my app is. I kind of understand what different screens should be, and start talking with ChatGPT or Copilot, say, hey, what are first screen this, give me the code, second screen that, give me the code. Then you compile all of that, you put them together. Of course, you need to, as a developer, you have to write some of your own code. It's not going to give you a complete application. And then you have to go to app stores, publish it, and do all of those things. And then maybe you can get an app. And by the way, we didn't talk about aesthetics, how good looking your app is going to be. But here we are talking about a person who is not a technical person, who is not a designer, who is not a product manager, none of those. They just have a business idea and they want to just get an app and go to the market and make revenue and try it out. So that's our core value, that we allow non-technical people to build their app in the easiest fashion.
Thank you, Tooraj. So folks, in this episode, we introduced our next AI entrepreneur who is helping non-technical people unlock the AI advantage by revolutionizing how apps are developed using AI. So that is Apsy and the founder, Tooraj Helmi, who's having a second go at a startup. So we'll be tracking the journey of Apsy and Tooraj as they navigate through the trials and tribulations of an AI startup. Thank you.